Welcome to Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chapin. I'm along with my co-host, Tyler.
What's up, y'all? How's it going, man?
This is an instant reaction, obviously, of the Dallas Cowboys Lions game. The Lions, Tyler, just try to bear with me. I don't even know, like, where this offense has hibernated from. I mean, you look at this offense; they've scored 8 points. No, they scored. Wait, they did. Yeah, they scored 6 points in 2 games. I mean, you don't win football games like that. And then in the second half, they turned over the ball 5 freaking times.
Yeah, so for once, man, I'm just gonna come out and say, like, you can't. And I know analytics and stats don't work this way, but you can't really count like at least the last touchdown, maybe even more, like against the defense, because they're in like trying to win mode, trying to get turnovers and stuff like that. So I realistically count this as us giving up about 17 to the
Well,
Cowboys, right? Their last play was due to a bad turnover, and at the very end of the game, the defense played great, man. For once, I mean, I can't. This is what I was talking about Aaron Glenn needing to scheme up something different, and they did, right? So Aiden Hutchinson, he was a standing off-ball rushing linebacker, um, in a 2 point. So I loved that. They did a lot of things schematically that I love that we'll get into later. This just initial reactions. The defense played really good. The offense looks horrible.
yep.
Um, I understand that we played two good defenses back to back weeks. And a lot of you're missing your big guys. You're missing DeAndre Swift. You're missing Amon-Ra St. Brown. But man, something. I mean, it's just disappointing because the defense finally puts together a really good game, gets multiple stops, and the offense just freaking stalls out. And I think it's just being the youngest team in the league, being inexperienced. We just don't know how to put a full game together on both sides of the ball, and I don't have a lot to say other than it sucks, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But as of right now, with Carolina winning, we're locked into the number one pick right now. So
Yeah. Well, I think there's good things on the horizon for the rest of the season. I do. I don't think they're gonna like go winless throughout the season. I do see them winning 6, 7 games, to be honest, and that's where the benchmark should be. When we looked at this defense, we told the last podcast we did, Tyler, we talked about how Aaron Glenn needs to be better. This defense needs to be better, and they come out and they played a hell of a fucking football game, a hell of a game, and for the offense to come out there and dominate time of possession, but falter with turnovers over and over and over again. You had 5 turnovers in one half. You led the possession battle 31 and 14 seconds to 28, 46 seconds. So you really controlled the time of possession. You controlled the game, and you didn't come away with what we call the main thing that matters, and that's scoring in the National Football League. In the red zone, Detroit was 0 for 1. In the red zone for Dallas, they were 3 for 4. They had a field goal. They had 2 touchdowns. Like they had a third touchdown at the end of the game, which I don't even freaking count because it was basically
right.
over. But like you look at
Well,
this, and it's like another game where the offensive line doesn't show up. They gave up 5 sacks today, and I get that this is a good defense on the other side, Tyler. But the reality of the situation is when you play a talented defense like Dallas, and this is an offensive line that should not have any problems with doing it. Decker looked like a rag doll today. They abused him. Micah Parsons was constantly put on his side because Sewell was doing such a good job with Parsons. They started putting Parsons on Decker's side, and Decker couldn't do nothing. Like
yeah,
Decker is becoming someone that listen. This was not his best game. Last week was not his best game, and they that's the way they played. Yeah, you could have used Swift. Yeah, you could have used St. Brown. But the reality of the situation is they signed a free agent named DJ Chark, and he's been a freaking disaster as a free agent, literally a disaster. And then you're hoping that St. Brown stays healthy. He comes back, concussion, first drive, boom. Your receivers were Khalif Raymond, Tom Kennedy, and Josh Reynolds. And I remember in the preseason, Tyler, all these freaking idiots were telling me that Tom Kennedy or Tyler Kennedy or James Kennedy or John F. Kennedy, they said that he was going to be he was a guy that should have made the roster. That guy should not have made the roster because
Yeah.
you see what happens when he actually plays good teams. He doesn't have enough talent to overcome. That's where Lions fans don't even know. We came into the season, we thought the wide receiver position would have a lot of depth. James Williams hasn't played yet. St. Brown has been injured. Reynolds has been injured. DJ Chark has been, he's a freaking China doll, and that's the way it's been.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of teams they get guys that are hurt, and you got to find a way to step up, and I understand that. It's just this one, it just this loss. I wasn't like screaming at the TV because the defense was Swiss cheese, or I wasn't upset really at a lot of like the coaching. A couple times in the game, I was kind of questioning a couple things, but I think I was just exaggerating a little bit. But looking overall and thinking back on it, I mean, this was a well coached, well schemed, well played defensively game. And the part that stings is like, look, man, Jamal Williams has over he's got over 600 carries in the NFL, and this is his first career lost fumble.
Yep.
I mean, talk about bad luck. I mean, this guy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it just I don't know what it was about it. He lost that fumble, um, and I just don't even understand how that happened. Tyler fell out for a minute, but when he lost that fumble, man, that was such a just a that was a game changing play because if he doesn't fumble the ball at the goal line, if he doesn't fumble that ball, you're looking at a touchdown. You're looking at it being 13-10 at the time, and you're looking at the Detroit Lions taking a step up, putting the pressure on Dallas. Once that fumble happened, it really pushed things back into a bad situation for the Detroit Lions. And we could talk about it all day long about Goff and his interceptions, but what really killed the team was that Jamal Williams fumble. And like Tyler alluded to that, that was a huge moment in this game today. Huge. And like it was his first fumble of his career. First lost fumble of his career. And it's a fumble that is lost at the goal line. I mean, when you're a running back, at any time when you make a play like that, you're hoping one that you don't fumble the ball at the goal line, but you don't even want to fumble the ball you don't want to fumble the ball at all. But when you fumble the ball at the goal line and it's at the one, obviously it's not the best, it's not the worst place to create a turnover because you got them backed up. But it's just a momentum killer because you could have got a touchdown, you could have changed the course of the game. Instead, it's a touchdown. I think it was so he fumbled. He fumbled. They punted afterwards. They punted. So the tide was turning. The tide was turning. And then the Dallas punts. Detroit throws an interception. The interception right up the middle that was thrown to Tom Kennedy. That was intercepted by Jordan Lewis. You know who Jordan Lewis is. He went to Michigan. Jordan Lewis, he intercepts that ball. It's a touchdown. He got it at the Dallas 46. They were inside Detroit's zone. That's some of the things that you're talking about when you lose those. And Tyler's back. But Tyler, I was telling people, you dropped
I
out.
don't know where I cut out.
You were talking about the Jamal Williams fumble.
Yeah,
I was telling him like, listen, I kind of took over when you left or whatever, but the fumble wasn't even the big fumble was huge, right? But the issue was they gave up the ball, they made Dallas punt after that, and then right afterwards, Jared Goff creates a huge problem, and back-to-back drives that the Lions had, fumble, interception, and then after the touchdown, they had another fumble. Then after and then after another Dallas touchdown, they had another fumble.
Well,
So
and I kept going, and I kept going. I couldn't tell when I cut out because I was like standing by the window, so I kept going on. By the way, for like 5 minutes. So, but what I was saying about that fumble is exactly what you were talking about. I said, look, if we can get the game called correctly, I said, and Jamal Williams, who either 600 carries, loses one fumble to another team in his career, which I think he's been around about 6 years. You know, you lose that fumble, and then we get 3 or 4 really bad penalties by the refs where it was almost super obvious they were trying to give Dallas the game. And
yeah,
then boom, Trayvon Diggs gets a pick that should have been overturned because it hit the ground. I thought it was pretty convincing. It hit the ground. Tony Romo thought it was pretty convincing. Um, and Jim Nance was he the other today?
yeah.
Everybody agreed, man. And but for some reason it's not reviewable. So I mean, you take two single
Well,
plays like
well,
that
because
on
it's not
back-to-back drives.
it's not reviewable because they already review every turnover in the booth.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that they didn't make the right decision. That was tough.
So if Dan Campbell throws a challenge flag there, like everybody wanted, it's a flag. Like they would have called.
I heard someone say that it wasn't challengeable, but I don't know. I
It
don't know
wasn't
how true.
challengeable because they reviewed it in the booth.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
that's the issue. And then the play where everyone was bitching about was the Brock Wright touchdown that wasn't a touchdown, but he was down at the one. And it was me and you that got into that match too. I mean, I know you were into it.
I
I was
saw
into it,
when I
but
saw the better replay. I can agree with you about like why you don't. But it's like, man, I agree they probably wouldn't have moved the ball much, right? Because they put him at the one. But it sucks because it's like, I don't know, hindsight's 2020, and you're pissed because it's like everybody's tired, and the very next play they just rush and run it up the gut, and then they fumble. So you're thinking like, man, maybe if we had an extra second to pick a different play or gather ourselves or to catch our breath, maybe we could have knocked it in. But I mean, hindsight's 2020. Of course, you're gonna think that.
I mean, you could have went either way, you know what I'm saying? But like the reality of the situation is, here's the thing: if you challenge a spot like that, like a spot of the ball, like where like you're challenging inches, you're not even challenging a yard, or you're not even challenging 2 yards, you're challenging a couple inches. That's not going to be indisputable evidence, and literally they're gonna go there, and they're gonna be like, not enough, not enough to overturn the call. It'll be call stands. And
Yeah,
and then when you do that, you lose the timeout. So
right.
I could see why Dan Campbell didn't challenge that. But at the same time, like you listen, the whole thing about that was the fumble at the goal line. Period, end of story.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, like, look, man, that game was closer than it looked. I was really proud of the defense. Um, Overall, though, bouncing off and piggybacking what you were saying, um, yes, that is a good coach game. A lot of the decisions that were tough to make, I feel like we made the right ones the majority of the time. Um, and it was just like, dude, we got unlucky so many times. And you got the pick that wasn't really a pick. You got the fumble on the 1 yard line. Then all of a sudden momentum's totally against you, and
Yeah, like
you can tell in the air, man. You can see it in the players. It's like,
when you dropped off, I was like, listen, when you fumble at the goal line, that's a momentum killer. No matter how you want to slice it, like that is a momentum killer. Because not only did you just like drop the ball, create a turnover for Dallas, like Dallas, like they didn't need that extra boost. That was really what it was. It was really just a
right,
boost, and like you gave him that boost with the fumble. And listen, the fact that it was Jamal Williams' first lost fumble, and the fact that it was on the goal line, like that is just a backbreaker. But then the defense makes them punt. Like I said, they made him punt. Like that was the defense showed up, and then right back then, the offense says, "Screw it, we're gonna go and we're gonna throw another. We're gonna turn over the ball again," and they get intercepted. Like, listen, I talked about how Jared Goff was doing good the first like 3-4 weeks, right? He was doing a really fine job running this offense. He was doing a really fine job at taking care of the ball for the most part. With those, he had those pick sixes that were more likely they were bad passes that he just got unlucky on because of the pick six. Like usually you don't see much pick sixes, especially when you're turnover. You're like 2 for 3 of pick sixes that end up in your own end zone. But like the fact the last 2 games he's played absolutely awful. I mean, obviously the health of this team has actually been a deterrent of that. But at some point, like if he's the guy, if he's going to be that guy that you think is going to be a starting quarterback in this league and be your starter for, you know, the future, he's got to win those games, dude. Like he just has to.
Yeah, he does, and that's what is scary because it's like if you're choosing for this guy to be the guy to lead your offense and lead your team, that's the thing. Those are the things you get concerned about, and that's kind of where you know you start to see a lot of word from a lot of Rams fans and a lot of McVay supporters and just people out in LA about like, look, man, there'll be times where Goff can really get your team there. He can do enough. He can have a good command. He has this like kind of silent leadership about him. But I can also see where a lot of people have counter argued and said, dude, this is exactly what you'll see. You'll get excited because, it's a guy good enough to get you there, but never really a guy to get you over the top or actually like, finish out the job or kind of doesn't have enough physical traits to put the team on his back and do something crazy, when you need it, which well, there's only a handful of guys in the league that truly can. But it's like it kind of makes you think and wonder, if this is what I kind of want for the future. But then you're going off of like, okay, do I trust some, blue chip, highly recruited, highly touted rookie with all these physical traits, but maybe isn't, patient enough or has the game slowed down enough, and so it just depends on where you view yourself in terms of contention. I think personally, and some people will agree with me, some people will disagree with me. Um, I think personally, I've seen enough of Goff to where I would be completely fine with going QB if we stay in the top five
Yeah.
and getting a QB on a rookie deal and building a defense and building a team and doing it the traditional way of, how you seen a lot of teams do it. Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson, Carolina Panthers with Cam Newton. They went to the Super Bowl 4 years later. You open up yourself a tight window when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, and you hope he turns into something promising and blossoming.
Yeah.
Um, the only way I do want Jared Goff sticking around is if we get a ton of blue chip top defensive talent, and maybe we can restructure Goff's deal to maybe the cap hit isn't 35. Maybe if we can get him, if he does stick around, maybe we get him in that 15 to 18 or 20 million range. Maybe it makes it a little bit better, but I don't know, man. I think I've seen enough to where I'd be fine with getting excited about a young rookie that's coming up here, man. I mean, it's a top heavy class, especially in terms of quarterback, and as of right now, we're locked into a top three. So we'll see.
So
We'll see.
so here's the thing. This is from Dave Burkett of the Free Press. He says it was confirmed from the NFL. New York did take a look at the Diggs INT. Campbell said officials told them it was confirmed too. So that's basically it.
Oh, as far as like confirmed interception.
Yeah. So it wouldn't even have worked. So I mean, people bitching about the Dan Campbell not challenging that. It was if he can't,
It's
he
just
can't.
classic Detroit versus everybody, dude. Like we're always screwed.
It
Like
was listen. I'm a stand alone with this. Okay, I know people think that he didn't get that interception, but he did. He didn't drop it. It was tight, but you're not gonna get that call at all. Like you're
yeah,
no
I
no
think you're
no
gonna get what
no team
what
is
they
gonna
call on the field.
no team is gonna get that call. Like none.
Right.
Like they're not gonna reverse it. If it was the Green Bay Packers versus Dallas Cowboys, it would still been a freaking interception. Like it,
But the thing, if it were called incomplete, I don't think it would have been overturned either.
right, but that's where you get the call. Like if they call it's like if they call it,
It's just funny how Detroit they never get the favorable call,
well,
ever.
dude,
Nothing can ever be called in our.
it looked like an interception. So if like let's stop saying like it was just a Detroit versus everybody type thing, because the reality of the situation is it will look like an interception. It was an interception, and the NFL confirmed that it was an interception.
Yeah, I mean it does suck though. On top of that, when you're coming back and you're trying to march down the field and score, and you got 3 or 4 penalties in the next drive, and then you get 2 big ones in the following drive. A couple really couple really bad ones, man. Or you got guys picking people up and suplex them into the ground,
Yeah, that
and
that was a total missed call, but
you got a couple bit really bad holds.
yeah.
And kind of mixed conflictions here. Anzalone, which I wish that dude would literally like get a one-way ticket to another country and not be allowed back. But it's like he's in the middle of the field, right? And he's kind of like holding this dude a little bit, roughing up on him. The guy grabs him, he wraps his arm around him and holds him there for 3 or 4 seconds, and then they get the flag.
I'm not saying that the refs were good. I'm not saying
It's
that at
just
all.
like it just seems like just
The refs were freaking brutal on both sides of the ball, and it was even apparent when like Hutchinson he turns and the guy is holding him, and then the next play, the next series where Detroit's on there, Parsons does the same thing and they call a hold. So
right.
I don't get it, but the Lions really it really comes down to this, dude. Like it just does. It comes down to the Lions turn over the ball more than the stupid refs or anything like that. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, we gave Dallas we gave him three first downs off penalties. I mean, I know you're talking about the one with Anzalone. That was a garbage call, but like, you can't do that. You turn over the ball 5 times. Like, it doesn't matter what the refs did. You lost. It
It
doesn't matter.
just sucks because it's like we're already talent deficient, and so all the opportunities where I'm sorry, all the opportunities where we may have a chance to gain some momentum back, or to make a big play, or to convert on a third down, or to get a sack on a third down. It's like the penalties and the flags, they come and they're against us, and it's like it just man, I see every other team in the league always catch these crazy lucky cool breaks, and it's like it gets so frustrating because I just don't think that we've earned enough respect around the league to start getting those. But it's like, if we can never catch a break, how the hell are we ever supposed to get that respect to get those calls? And
Okay,
it's
here
just tough. It's frustrating. It's just frustrating.
I hate this whole conversation because you make your own breaks. Like, you overcome bad calls. That's just what it is.
I tell it to Aaron Rodgers. This dude's been getting breaks his whole career. Tom Brady getting breaks
you
his
know
whole
what?
career.
Because you know why? You know why he gets those calls? Because he's earned those freaking calls. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, they can get those calls anytime they effing want. If a guy like Jared Goff does it, a guy like Teddy Bridgewater does it, a guy like Tua does it, a guy like Jameis Winston does it, they're not getting the same freaking calls. That's just the reality. And when you're a good team, when you're a good team, when you're a good team like Dallas, when you're a prestigious team, you're gonna get those calls. So Detroit has to just overcome the calls. I mean, I know people are out there. What? What'd you say? What'd you say?
Yeah, I just it's just one of those. Oh yeah, you're cutting out there, so you're good. You're coming back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Matt. But when you get those, when you're that way, you get those calls. Period, and that's the way it is. Like, Aaron Rodgers is gonna get that call because he's earned it. Mahomes gets that call, he's earned it.
Oh, is it recording stop?
What? Yeah, we're back now. So I don't know what happened there.
No, you're good. I just said, it's tough because it's like, as a lifelong fan, dude, you like long for those kind of things to go your way. It's just, the truth be told, we've never really had a guy that's of that status that's earned that kind of stuff. But it's just like, it makes you like, it's funny. There's so much national attention on us getting screwed that it's like almost funny at this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've got to. I mean, I'm not sitting here making excuses or saying like that's the reason we lost, because that's not. But I'm just saying it never makes anything easier when you're going against two teams at that point. You're going against the officiating crew and the opposite team. And if you're not resilient and you don't got super playmakers and superstar guys to make up for that, like, it's going to be hard to get wins in the win column.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? It's just,
let's be honest with it though. Like, let's be honest with the way that this Detroit Lions team has to do things. Like, they can't do things like Philadelphia. They can't do things like the Chiefs or the 49ers or any team like that because they don't have the talent to overcome that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
when we look at this Lions team and we look at the way that they play, yeah, they're in every game, and that's a testament to Dan Campbell that they're in every game, that they play hard, that they're in every game. But the part that where they don't get the chance to overcome their mistakes is because they don't have game breakers. Like Aiden Hutchinson showing up today, that was welcomed. We needed that for sure. On offense, when you're missing a guy like DeAndre Swift, when you're missing a guy like Amon St. Brown, Jameson Williams, I mean those hurt. DJ Chark, China Doll, he's not on there. So you're down to Josh Reynolds, you're down to Cleve Raymond, you're down to Tom Kennedy. Like that's no way to win. So the talent is for the talent that they had in the football field today, they put up a good fight, but they weren't talented enough to overcome those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to shift this a little bit, to a couple of things that I can see that's positive. A couple of things because watching a team like this, man, we got to remember that it is the second year of a total tear down and rebuild. So, especially me, because it's like you always want your football team to win, or you always want your football team to do well. So you got to kind of remind yourself of where you're at. And comparing yourself to other coaches or other teams isn't fair because they're not in the same situation that we're in. They're not in the same market we're in. They don't have as little of talent that we do. So I get it, man. I do. But I am trying to find some positives. So I mean, a couple positive things. Coaches schemed finally, man. Defensively, Aaron Glenn put something together. He said, "I'm going to coach for my job. I'm not going to look like a bum." He schemed up nicely. I loved it. Another positive, Aiden Hutchinson standing up as a rushing linebacker off the weak side. Yes, dude, give me more of that. Like, I love that. That was great. I mean, we've been talking about how absent this dude has been, and I thought today he was like a game wrecker. Like,
Yep.
2 sacks, three quarterback hits, 5 pressures. Like, he was killing it, dude. He was doing a great job. And that just goes to show, too, though, how important it is to have some of those other guys, man. I don't think Kaminsky was back, was he? I don't think
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking for him. I didn't. It's okay. So, but I know Josh Pascal, man. I know he was there, and
Yeah.
that dude is looking like the next. He's looking like the real deal, man. He was causing a lot of disruption in the middle of the line,
Yep.
and he's strong as hell, but he's also athletic and quick and
Yep.
agile, man. Like that's a big positive. I think, shoot, if we do decide that we're gonna go QB, maybe second half or so with that second first round pick, or maybe like second round or not at all, and we do stay in the top 3, and we get a dude like Will Anderson, like, whew, you're talking about a pretty dangerous defensive line, man, a pretty dangerous front seven. So,
No, I totally agree. You know what, Kaminsky,
I mean, you'd have
Kaminsky,
something to look forward to.
Kaminsky was huge on that first sack that Aiden Hutchinson had. I mean, he basically pushed the lineman into the other lineman. And it opened up the hole for Aiden Hutchinson to get the sack. Josh Pascal, you mentioned him. I've always wanted to see this kid play on this team because I know that he can be a really good football player. I know that he can be a difference maker, and like just getting a guy like Josh Pascal on that defense, with Aiden Hutchinson, it kind of opens up a little bit of what you could do with that defense. And when Charles Harris comes back, that opens up more opportunities for this defense to get better. But it's ultimately what it's going to become is the offense has to get healthy because right now, you need Jameson Williams to come back. You need Swift to come
Dude,
back.
do we ever,
You
man?
need St. Brown to come back. I mean, it's just a reality. Like this team needs talent because DJ Chark's on IR now. He's he's not going to be come back.
I need to ask you something, man.
Yeah.
I need to ask you something important.
Yeah.
How much is too much for you to tell DeAndre Swift to walk out that damn door and not come back? He is a great player. He's a game breaker, but he's on a contract year, man. And I don't think he's put together more than 10 games in any season. I mean, how much is too much?
He's put together 13, but the reality of the situation is he hasn't stayed healthy. And last year at draft time, I was all for the Lions drafted Brees Hall or Kenneth Walker. I really wanted those. And people were telling me, "Oh, you don't. The Lions don't need a running back." They go, "Listen, Jamal Williams, he's a cute back. He's a guy that's gonna give you, some good yards. He's a solid running back, right? But what you need is a game breaker. If Swift misses time at any time, you just lost your game breaker. You lost a guy who could break
Yeah,
the game open. So when these people are telling me, "Oh, we don't need a running back. We don't need a running back," you do need a running back. And honestly, to be honest, if we're being totally freaking honest with ourselves right now, and me included, I don't think I would pay Swift. I'm just being straight out. I don't think I'd pay Swift. I think that unless it's a deal that benefits the Lions, I'm not paying him. You can't stay healthy.
it's
Like you can't.
tough, dude. It's like, you know what I mean? It's hard. It's like, what do you. This guy's got insane game breaking ability, but it's like at what cost? I mean, what? Cool. He's got game breaking ability. 9 games out of the year.
If
That's
you're
really
not
that's really cool.
if you're not on the field, it doesn't freaking matter. You know what I'm saying? Like let's look at a team like the 49ers, okay? They have so much running back depth that they lost Elijah Mitchell. Jeff Wilson held it together for, a while. And then they felt like, yeah, we can go out there and get a Christian McCaffrey, even though that their running back depth is pretty solid. I mean, it's still a running football. It's still a running league. The Dallas Cowboys have Zeke Elliott and they have Tony Pollard. Tell me
Yeah.
that doesn't help you. I mean, Tony Pollard's a fast guy who can break a game too. Zeke's the same way. I mean, you look at all these good
Exactly.
teams. You look at all these good teams in the NFL. Like last year um, you had the Bengals. They had Joe Mixon. They had Chris Evans. They had they had guys that can break the game open like Jamar Chase, T Higgins, all that stuff. Like you need game breakers, period. And when the game breakers aren't on the football field, you're gonna struggle. Like you just are. I mean,
Yeah.
you need guys who can stay healthy. That's the main point. Like you need guys that are gonna stay healthy, that are gonna give you, listen, I can deal with you missing 2 games, 3 games sometimes, but like you missing like 4 games every year in case of DeAndre Swift. I mean, that's just 4 games. That's huge. So
I mean,
I would be look if I was the Lions, I'd be looking at getting a running back in here through the draft this year.
but then you say if he misses 4 or 5 games, but is he 100% for the other 12? No, you know what I mean? Like the dude seems like he's banged up and hurt like all the time. Even the games he does play, he's like dealing with a
We
lingering,
didn't
nagging
even get
injury.
we didn't even get through week 1 and the guy was already banged up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that's some of the stuff that you have to look at if you're a Lions fan. Like I know you want to go defense, 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 you want to go defense. Last year, in last year's draft, you only drafted 2 offensive players. You drafted Jameson Williams, you drafted James Mitchell, right? The rest were
Right.
defensive players. So at some point, Brett Holmes' defensive drafts that he's done needs to come to fruition. Period.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And these people screaming for defense, defense, defense. Well, when you don't prioritize building the football team and you prioritize one spot and you miss out on a guy like Brees Hall or Kenneth Walker or name a running back that you can miss out on. I mean, look at the Steelers. The 49ers, they always draft running backs every year because they know that running backs it's literally you don't have much shelf life on these guys. They're gonna get hurt. They're
Right.
gonna get banged up. So you gotta have at least 2 to 3 good guys. The Lions only have
Oh,
two.
most of these, yeah.
The Lions only have 2 right now.
But most of these guys, they only they'll draft and they usually don't even re-sign a lot of these guys. You know what I mean? Unless you get like a stud.
Unless it's unless it's Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley. Like you're not Zeke Elliott. You're not really going and saying, yeah, I'm gonna commit money to a guy who is a running back who you know, it's like the Todd Gurley effect. Jared Goff is well aware of that. When that happens, is when Todd Gurley went out, right? It wasn't the
Yeah.
same.
I
It
mean,
wasn't. It wasn't the same team. They lost a game breaker. They had to rely on Malcolm Brown, and Malcolm Brown is God bless his heart. He's a good football player. He's not Todd Gurley. And
well,
Jamal Williams is not DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I mean, and Todd Gurley, I mean, poor guy's retired and he's only 28.
Well, that's what happens when you have two bad knees, and that's what happens when you're a running back in the league.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and I can't agree that you're starting to shift my mindset a little bit on that. I know that you need to continually bring in offensive playmakers, but it's like, that's why I trust and like Brad Holmes's like late round hits, the last couple of years is because it's like, hey man, if we can find a way to get another really good running back, a Bijan Robinson or, you know, pick somebody up in free agency,
Jameer Gibbs, yeah, yeah, one of those guys. Exactly.
something, and then you got JMO back on the field, and then it's like, you can kind of flirt with the idea of a new quarterback. You can, but and then and obviously you have to take some positions in need, man. You got to spend a couple picks on linebacker, in secondary. I mean, you have to, but I do agree. You do need to build the football team, completely because we draft, all defense for 3 or 4 years, and we're not going to have any offense. So it's like, and then we'll be in the exact opposite problem.
I mean, the reality, dude, is like when you don't draft like guys, right, that you believe in, right? You take a defensive draft. If the Lions drafted a wide receiver, would it help them out right now? If they took a second wide receiver, maybe. This is what I'm saying. Like you're gonna have guys that are injured throughout the season, and you have to have depth, and you're gonna have to draft at all positions. Don't play this
Oh,
stupid.
100%.
Don't. It's like the guy who does his fantasy draft, right? And like he takes four running backs in a row, and then next thing you know, he's drafting for a quarterback, and he's picking out a Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz.
Right.
Well, you prioritize one position of need that you needed for your team, and you forgot about the most important parts. You forgot about a wide receiver. You forgot about a freaking a quarterback. Like that's just the way it goes, and that's what happens throughout this whole thing. Part of the reasons that we've had these issues with the Detroit Lions for through a couple years is because the GMs don't prioritize depth. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
depth is like your biggest need for a football team because if you look at the team today that we played Dallas, right? When Dak went out, Cooper Rush stepped in and they won games, right?
Yep.
A guy like Sam Williams can come in for DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, and he can make a difference. We've seen that today. They have cornerback depth. They have wide receiver depth. They didn't even have Michael Gallup for the first 4 games, I think.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, I do agree that you
this
definitely
is
need
this
that.
is what happens when you're a good team. You have depth. I mean, you look at the San Francisco 49ers. They're on the TV right now playing the Chiefs, winning 10-7. They've been injured a ton, but their depth brought them through to a 3-3 record, and right now they're leading the Chiefs right now on Fox. Like that's just what happens when you have depth.
Yeah, and I just it's like what I need to see for this Detroit Lions football team. I think now more than anything, and I hate to say it because it sounds so beaten up, right? It sounds so overused that all the fans like are tired of hearing it. But if you were gonna commit to a full rebuild, which we finally did, I hate to say it because I'm one of the most impatient people on planet freaking Earth, but we need to try to our best to exercise patience, but also have like urgency at the same time. So like we need to be patient and letting these things grow and build and develop, but also urgent in the sense that some of these guys like either need to be replaced, let go, or other depth and talent needs to be infused so that you're continually breeding a culture of winning and being better than your opponent and having more skill and being a harder worker. You know what I mean? Like you got to like combine these things because sometimes I feel like some teams are too loyal, I guess you could say, or too reliant that these guys are, oh, this is my guy, man. I know what he's capable of. And you let him drag out too long, or you can't replace him, or you can't bring more new talent in. And on the other side of that, you got to let some guys grow and develop. You can't just be replacing and flipping positions every season or every 2 seasons. That's why all those people are the whole fire Dan Campbell crowd. If you, like you said last pod, dude, are you gonna like just flip your regime every 25 games
Right.
until the end of time? I mean,
I mean,
You know what I
you see
mean?
guys like Bill Cowher, you see guys like Tony Romo, you see guys saying, Dan Campbell it has has what it takes. Just Detroit needs to be patient, and it's the truth. Because listen, if you fire this guy tomorrow, right? If you fire Dan Campbell tomorrow, do you know what message it sends to future coaches that that are available? It sends a message that if you don't win in the first 25 games, that you're going to be gone. And you know who does that? And it's exactly what's going to happen in Carolina if they don't get their crap straight.
Yeah.
You can't fire a coach that took over a rebuild and fire him within 2 years. Like you just can't. I
Right,
know.
because then no one's gonna be able to want to come in there and truly give it their all to rebuild when you know what I mean.
You,
You're like, oh
you,
shit, I better get it done in 20 games.
yeah, you're not even gonna get you're not even gonna get the full chance to prove yourself. I mean, that's like the reality. Like Dwayne Casey, right? You're a Pistons guy. He's given the chance to try to make improve this team and try to get him along. Jeff Blashill when he was with the Red Wings, there was a time where people overlooked him, being a subpar coach, and like they just wanted to see progress, right? He didn't give the progress, and the Red Wings fired him because they didn't see enough progress. Same thing will happen to Dwayne Casey if he doesn't do it within the next year or two. But like
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Dan Campbell came into a crap situation where his cap situation is ridiculous, and that's just the way it's gonna be. Like you're not firing the guy. Aaron Glenn showed that he's a good coach. Ben Johnson, he's the last 2 games have been pretty bad for Ben. He's got to get together. He's got to get it would be nice if they just went on a roll and won 4 straight. That would be nice.
oh, it'd be great. I mean, it would be very positive. I think a lot of the narratives would change. I think the talent and you know the scheming and the resiliency in the fight. There is enough to be able to rattle off some wins. It's just when and how and at what cost, and is it going to be in time? I mean, how many times have we seen the Lions with Stafford? We start off 2-6, 1-5, 2-7, 3-8, and all of a sudden we rattle off 4 or 5 wins. And it's like you don't want it to be all for nothing. You want those to start translating to a more positive future and development of your players and finding guys that can turn into stars. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, you infuse you put Jameson Williams back into that offense. You grab a young running back, someone to pair up, and kind of have Swift and Williams kind of working as a committee while this guy's a rookie, but you infuse some game breaking talent, man, across the board, and then it's like then you start to see the vision. That's why I think that with the way that the league is going, you need to have a quarterback with a high physical trait, someone who can extend the plays, who can extend the pocket, who can scramble for first downs. I mean, watching Jared Goff try to run away from Michael Parsons today to get the first down was like watching a full grown lion attack a kitten.
Yeah, but
I mean,
you look at it like this too, right? Like CJ Stroud from Ohio State, he's not really a running quarterback. He's not going to run. He has the ability to run, but he's not going to run. You know,
well, I'm not necessarily thinking mobile or running quarterback
yeah,
though. I'm just someone that can extend plays.
listen, I don't care about mobile. I don't care honestly. Like, yeah, you would like to prefer have a mobile guy, but you can win with a guy who stands out in the pocket and delivers darts. Like Joe Burrow, I'm pretty sure everyone in this freaking place would be happy about Joe Burrow. Yeah, he can show
But
yeah, he can go and run if he needs to, but he's not running, dude. He's not.
but he's fluid in the pocket and he can
Yeah, but
evade and
here's the thing.
escape the pocket.
Here's the thing about Joe Burrow. The one thing he does that it makes him a good quarterback is he sits in that pocket and he delivers the ball. Obviously, if he was more mobile, I mean, there's sometimes where Joe Burrow. Here's what happens when you have a mobile quarterback, and I don't think people realize this when they say they want a quarterback that runs a little bit. It makes it harder on your offensive line. Like a guy like Joe Burrow, right? There's times where he'll get out of the pocket and he'll make things happen. Like he'll make things happen, but he's also got himself into trouble with sacks. I mean, you look at a guy
Right.
like you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson. Like when he's behind there, he's got himself in trouble with sacks. Dak Prescott, same thing. Justin Herbert, same freaking thing. You know, at some point you need to sit back there and just throw the ball. And I think
And I
people,
know that we're not gonna
I think, I
get
think,
a guy. Good.
I think people look at it like this. Okay, like I'm not a big fan of Bryce Young. I'm really not. Like I'm not. I don't think he's going to be this great quarterback. He's 6'1". He's small, and he likes to get outside the pocket. It's gonna open up some. You know, it's your offensive line's not gonna be able to block for that so long. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like a guy like Will Levis, like that's a guy that intrigues me, but I don't think we'll be in position to get Will Levis. I think they're gonna win 6-7 games this year still. But I know what
That's the
people.
boldest prediction I've heard you make, man. I don't know. After watching these first 6 games, I don't know, man.
Well, I don't go up for 6 games. I mean, like look, they were in every freaking game.
It means
They
we
were
got to go 6-5 in the next 11 games, and we play some tough opponents, man. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know. It'll be tough.
here's the thing. You got to win some on the road, but you got the Bears twice. You got the
Which
you
which
got
we haven't won a road game in 2 freaking years almost. We need
yeah.
to get a win on
It's
the road.
it's time for Dan Campbell to win a game on the road. I mean, he's gonna get his shot with the Giants in Chicago, and he's got to win one of those. Period. End of story. But you got the you got 2 games against the Bears, you got the Panthers, you got the Jags, you got the Jets, which they both look good too. But listen, you got to win these games. I don't care. They need to show progress. That's all I need to do is show progress for the rest of the season. We'll be good.
Yeah. Hey, man. Shout out. Let me do a quick shout out here to my boy Jeff Okuda, man. 15 tackles today.
Yeah, Jeff Okuda was amazing, and he was even better with the run. Now you don't want your cornerback getting 15 freaking tackles, or your
No,
safe.
no, oh no. That
Right,
means
right,
your
right,
team is
right.
yeah.
I know what you're saying. I mean, like it's like at some point it's like our leading tacklers are 2 guys in the secondary. Like that's not really that great. Like but you know, Elliott had a tackle for a loss. Okuda had a tackle for a loss. That just shows you how good they played. Aquara, Hutchinson, they both had tackles for loss. Like it was a great game for the Detroit Lions defense. Uh, Ultimately, their offense didn't come to play. So that's all that matters. You know.
Yeah. No, it definitely you're right. I mean, it it's like I I'm at the point in the season, dude. It's like the excitingness is like wearing off of the beginning of the season, and we're starting to see things, and it's like I don't know. I want to see in these next couple weeks, man. I want to see something like really positive, man. And I think the only way I'm really gonna see that is if we come out with a scrappy win, or like we like knock the brakes off somebody and we just say, hey, look, we're here.
Yeah.
It's like I got to remember that this team didn't win a game until week 13 last year, week 12.
Yeah.
So we won week 2. I know it was against an opponent that not too many people are high on, but hey, I think they've won 4 games.
They beat the Packers. So that's you know.
So like I get it. People are frustrated, but it's like, but I just I want to see some positivity, man, and I want to see some growth. And I hope that maybe by the end of the season, we find another staple of our offense and defense. I think right away we found that Rodrigo is going to be a very vital part of this team. I think today we showed that with Kaminsky and Pascal back, it really helps Aiden out and it really beefs up our line. So, look to see when we do get Romeo Aquara back or Charles Harris back, and maybe possibly add another edge rusher, in the next year's draft. So, we'll see. But I think we do try to kind of find some silver linings and find things that we can look forward to. And Amani didn't look horrible today for the most part.
Yep.
Jeff Okuda, man, he looked like the best player on the field. I mean, outside of like Micah Parsons.
Yep.
I mean, he looked good, dude. He was a lot of those tackles too were because other guys missed tackles or missed assignments. So, I mean, he saved a couple big plays. So I'm just if we can find a few things to take away from now to the end of the year, and we find some staples and some corner pieces, I think that after year two, that's really when Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are going to sit down, really see like, okay, what's working in what areas, what's not. Like, let me get a full analysis and see where our cornerstone pieces are, and then I think some moves start happening. The guys that are on their last leg, now that you're entering that third year and you're ready to win, hey, look, the Will Harrises, the Mike Hughes, the Anzelonis. Look, dude, if you can't play and you can't be, worth half a donkey's ass, then go find a new team.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to start to see that next year. I think because of the stage that we're at in this rebuild, that right now we're still almost kind of like having kind of like open tryouts. I know it sounds weird, but kind of like an open tryout position like on the field. So it's like we're going to analyze and see how these guys play and where we can play them, what we can do. But I still think, Lions fans, that you guys got to remember next year is supposed to be the year we start to see change, man. You can't, year three of the rebuild, experts said it, analysts said it, coaches said it, owners said it, general managers said it. Year three, we plan to have this ship on the right path. And, we have another season, another off season coming with 2 first-round picks. And we have a lot of dead money falling off the caps. And we have a lot of guys that we realize we can play without, like Vaitai and probably Taylor Decker. There's a couple Michael Brockers.
Right.
There's a lot of guys that you can go without and you'll be just fine. I think Hank Fraley has done an awesome job with our offensive line, and we finally have a group that is almost, like I said in previous pods, is like a plug and play
Yeah.
and a rotating coaching masterpiece. So I think some of those big name guys and some of those really expensive guys, like Big V making 11 million a year as our right guard.
You
You
won't be back next
you,
year. Here's
you get rid of a couple of those guys, man, and we can make room for some other guys that we really need. You know what I mean?
here's what I'm looking for the rest of the season. I just want to see progress. I want to see wins. I want to see the team, make significant progress on the defensive side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe you win games. Maybe you go on a run. You never know. I mean, it's just that's the way it is. But I don't see them. Obviously, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. But I'd like to I'd like to see them win 6 7 games. To be honest. Um,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know
even if
I know they've been in every game. Okay, I know they've been in every game. They've had a shot to win these games. It's been up to a few plays here, a few plays there. But if you get the same defense you got today, you're gonna have a good shot to win every game. Especially if this offense gets their ass together. Because yes, last 2 weeks have been brutal to watch because they haven't even moved the ball enough to really
yeah,
be an offense that you fear.
yeah,
And that's all
yeah,
it comes down to. And this is another Detroit Lions post game, like podcast. Obviously, Tyler and me, we're a little bit pissed off about this game because it really feels like a game they should have won, right, Tyler?
yeah. It does. Of course, it
And
does. I
and
mean,
the in the
good stuff.
interceptions, the fumbles, just
Sloppy play, man.
that will kill you every time. It doesn't matter what you do. Fumbles, turnovers as a whole will kill you every single time. So listen, to all Lions fans, just practice patience. Even though you've been patient for 60 years, it doesn't matter because what's another year? What's another year?
Yeah, man. You're right. I mean, and we've got to just try to, you know, I think that at least we're rebuilding finally. We have an
Yeah, I
identity
mean,
that we're rebuilding finally.
they're rebuilding. It's that's the way it is. So we'll see you guys next. We'll see you on Wednesday on the pod, or Tuesday
Yeah,
maybe, But listen, it wasn't the way it should have went. The Lions should have won this game. If we're being honest, they just didn't take care of the ball. They didn't make good plays, and that's the reason they lost. And it's been a symbol the whole season where you take a few plays away and they could win that game. And this is another game where if you take those plays away, you probably win the game. But those plays live with the game, and that's why you lost.
yeah, man. I'm hoping to find some positives and the rest of the season and see some guys grow and learn and continue to see our coaching staff make positive um, moves and the right decisions and the right calls. And I think Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn both coached significantly better today.
Yep.
Um, so that does, it is good to see. We'll just continue to watch the rest of this season and try your best to, keep positive, keep resilient, and find ways to really stay excited about this, man. And um, at some point, I don't know if it's going to be later this year or next year or 2 years later, man. At some point, we're going to say, "Damn, it was all worth it," and things are finally coming together. We got our guys. Let's go to
Well,
war.
it should be next year, so that's the way it should be. And listen, that's the way it's gonna be. And we'll talk about more on the podcast Tuesday and Wednesday. But this was just we'll kind of configure our thoughts and see what we think going forward to the Dolphins game. Man, it was just it was a struggle today, and I think the Lions should have won. But this is the Detroit Lions News podcast on on the JC Sports Network, and obviously we'll see you guys Tuesday, Wednesday, as we talk about Detroit Lions. We're gonna have to mix some things in, like draft talk. I mean, I can't believe we're talking about draft talk in October, but yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Well, we'll catch you next time, and um, don't forget to tune in, man. I just started the Bad Boys Revival podcast over for the Pistons. So if you like Pistons, go check us out. And Joe runs a really, really good Red Wings podcast, as you guys know as well, and they're kicking off their season. So hey, we'll be a lot, have a lot of different opportunity to talk about a lot of different teams in the Detroit area, man. So you guys stay tuned for that, and we'll see you. We'll see you next episode.
Hopefully they all pop at the same time except for the Tigers, but that's the way it is. And we'll see you guys on the next podcast. We're previewing the Dolphins game and configuring our thoughts about the Lions Cowboys games. But this was the initial reactions for the Detroit Lions versus Dallas Cowboys, and obviously it wasn't the way we wanted it, but it is the way it is. And that is the end of the podcast. And we will see you guys later this week.
All right, guys. See ya.